Hi, I'm Peter, founder of Expedition Money, and welcome to Variable Income Mastery. If you're watching this course, chances are you know the stress of not knowing exactly how much money will be in your next paycheck. Maybe you're a truck mechanic who gets tons of overtime some weeks and barely part-time hours on others. Maybe you're a nurse doing contract work, or you're in construction where winter means slim pickings. Here's what I want you to know right up front. Your variable income isn't a problem to be solved. It's a situation to be managed. And when you manage it right, you can often come out ahead of people with so-called steady jobs. So let's dive in. Why variable income isn't your enemy. Most people think a steady paycheck is automatically better than a variable one, but let's do some real math here. Let's say you're a diesel mechanic. In your current job, you make anywhere from $1,500 to $4,000 a month, depending on how busy the shop is. Your total income over the year, let's say it averages out to $65,000. Now your friend works at a parts warehouse, steady job, same paycheck every 2 weeks. He makes $45,000 a year. When you're having a slow month, he looks pretty good, doesn't he? But here's what's really happening. Over the course of a year, you're making $20,000 more than he is. $20,000. That's not pocket change. That's a down payment on a house. That's a year of groceries for a family of four. That's real money. Real numbers. Variable versus fixed income. Now let me show you what this looks like over time. I'm going to use some round numbers to make this easy to follow. Variable income worker, that's you. Year 1, $65,000. Year 2, $67,000. Year 3, $70,000. 3-year total, $202,000. Steady income worker, that's your friend. Year 1, $45,000. Year 2, $46,000, a small raise. Year 3, $47,000. 3-year total, $138,000. That difference, $64,000 over 3 years. That's more than an entire year's salary for your friend. Now, I'm not saying the variable income path is easy. These slow months are real and they're stressful. But if you can learn to manage them, and that's exactly what this course is going to teach you, you come out way ahead. Case study, Sarah the truck mechanic. Let me tell you about Sarah. She's a diesel mechanic at a trucking company outside of Denver. During the busy season, spring through fall, she's pulling in $3,000 to $4,000 a month with overtime. During the winter, sometimes it's low as $1,800. 2 years ago, Sarah was ready to quit. The uncertainty was killing her. She was looking at jobs at auto parts stores, thinking about going back to school, anything to get that steady paycheck. But then she learned about the strategies I'm going to teach you in this course. She set up what we call a smoothing account. She figured out her credit options before she needed them. She built her budget around her worst months, not her best ones. And now today, Sarah's still at that same job, but her stress level is completely different. She knows that even in her worst month, she's got a plan. She's got systems in place. And over the past 2 years, she's saved more money than she ever did when she was panicking about her income every month. That's the power of managing variable income instead of running from it. Understanding your income pattern. Here's what most people with variable income don't realize. Your income isn't actually random. It feels random because you're living it month to month. But when you step back and look at the bigger picture, there's almost always a pattern. Maybe you're in construction and you know winter is slow. Maybe you're in retail and you know December is crazy while February is dead. Maybe you're doing contract nursing and you know certain times of the year are busier than others. The first step to managing variable income is to stop being surprised by these patterns and start planning for them. The 12-month income mapping exercise. I want you to grab a piece of paper or open up a spreadsheet. We're going to map out your income for the past 12 months. If you haven't been tracking this, that's okay. We'll work with what you've got. Write down each month for the past year, and next to it, write down your take-home pay for that month. If you can't remember exactly, estimate as best as you can, but don't worry about being perfect. We're looking for patterns, not precision. Here's what Sarah's looked like. January, $1,800. February, $2,100. March, $2,800. April, $3,200. May, $3,800. June, $4,100. July, $3,900. August, $3,600. September, $3,400. October, $2,900. November, $2,200. And December, $1,900. Do you see a pattern here? Her income ramps up in the spring, peaks in summer, and drops off in fall and winter. Once you see this pattern, you can plan for it. Calculating your floor income. Now, I want you to look at your numbers and find your lowest month. That's your floor income, the worst case scenario you need to be prepared for. In Sarah's case, her floor income was $1,800 in January. But here's the thing, you can't just plan for your worst month ever because next year might be even worse. I want you to take your lowest month and subtract $200 from it. So if your lowest month was $2,000, plan for $1,800. If it was $1,500, plan for $1,300. This gives you a buffer because here's the truth. Even with the best planning in the world, your lowest month might end up being lower than you expected. Business cycles change, economic conditions shift. You want to be prepared for your income to be even lower than your worst historical month. recognizing early warning signs. Once you understand your pattern, you can start to see the early warning signs of slow periods coming. For Sarah, she learned that when the shop starts sending guys home early in October, November is going to be rough. When they stop scheduling Saturday work, she knows overtime is about to dry up. For a contract nurse, it might be when the agency stops calling with last-minute shifts. For someone in retail, it might be when they start cutting hours after the holiday season. These aren't just random events, they're signals. And once you learn to read the signals, you can prepare instead of just react. The seasonal calendar. I want you to think about your work and make a simple calendar. Mark the months when you typically earn more, and mark the months when you typically earn less. Be honest about this. Don't just think about the official busy season. Think about when you actually get paid more. Sometimes there's a lag. Construction might be busy in the summer, but if you get paid for big projects in September, then September is your high income month, not July. Once you have this calendar, you'll start to see the opportunities. Maybe your low season is when you should be applying for that home equity line of credit because your income looks more stable to the bank. Maybe your high season is when you should be prepaying some of your annual expenses like car insurance or property taxes. Your income isn't random, it's cyclical. Here's the key insight I want you to take away from this section. Your variable income isn't chaotic, it's cyclical. And once you understand the cycle, you can work with it instead of against it. Think about farmers. They don't get paid every 2 weeks. They get paid when they harvest their crops. But farmers don't panic every month wondering if they'll have money. They plan their entire year around the harvest cycle. You need to start thinking like a farmer. Your busy season is your harvest. Your slow season is when you're preparing for the next harvest. But both are necessary parts of the cycle. The mindset shift. Right now, you might feel like your variable income is something that happens to you, like you're at the mercy of forces beyond your control. And to some extent, that's true. You can't control whether your shop gets busy or whether contracts are available. But here's what you can control: how you respond to that variability. Instead of being the victim of variable income, I want you to become the strategist of variable income. That means thinking ahead, planning for different scenarios, and having systems in place before you need them. A victim says, I don't know how much money I'll make next month, so I can't plan anything. A strategist says, I know my income will vary, so here's my plan for high months, low months, and everything in between. Why traditional budgeting advice fails you. Most budgeting advice is written for people with steady paychecks. It assumes you know exactly how much money will hit your account every month. When your income varies, that advice not only doesn't help, it can actually make you feel worse about your situation. Traditional advice says, build a budget based on your monthly income. Your reality? What monthly income? It changes every month. Traditional advice says, save 20% of your income. Your reality? Some months I can save 50%, other months I can't save anything. Traditional advice says, build a 3-month emergency fund. Your reality? My 3 worst months might be very different from my 3 average months. You need different strategies because you have a different situation. That's not a flaw in you, that's a flaw in the one-size-fits-all advice. The annual salary perspective. Here's a mental shift that changes everything. Stop thinking about your monthly income and start thinking about your annual income. Your friend with a steady job thinks in months because his months are all the same. You need to think in years because that's where your advantage shows up. When you're having a slow month, remember, this isn't your permanent income. This is just this month's income. Your annual income includes all those high months too. When someone asks you what you make, don't say, well, it depends on the month. Say, I make about $65,000 a year because that's the truth. This isn't just about how you talk to other people. It's about how you think about yourself. You're not sometimes employed. You're not someone who has an unstable job. You're someone with a $65,000 a year job that gets paid out irregularly. That's completely different. The abundance mindset in slow months. This is probably the hardest part of the mindset shift, but it's crucial. When you're in a slow month, you need to remember that busy months are coming. I know it doesn't feel that way when you're looking at a thin paycheck, but if you've mapped out your income pattern like we did earlier, you have evidence that busy periods come back. That doesn't mean you should spend money you don't have. It means that you should make decisions based on your full annual cycle, not just your current month. So, if you're in your slow season and a small emergency comes up, your car needs a repair, your kid needs something for school, you don't have to panic and think your life is falling apart. You can think strategically. This is my slow season, so I'll handle this with my line of credit, and I'll pay it back when my busy season starts. That's thinking like a strategist, not reacting like a victim. Wrap up. All right, let's recap what we've covered in this first module. First, variable income isn't your enemy. When managed properly, it often leads to higher total earnings than steady jobs. Second, your income has patterns. It's not random chaos, it's cyclical, and you can learn to predict and plan for those cycles. Third, you need a different mindset. Instead of thinking month to month like people with steady jobs, You need to think year to year. Instead of feeling like a victim of income volatility, you need to become a strategist who works with that volatility. In the next module, we're going to get into the practical systems that make all of this possible. We're going to talk about smoothing accounts, smart banking setups, and the automated systems that turn your variable income from a source of stress into a well-managed financial strategy. But before we get to the tactics, I needed you to understand the strategy. Your variable income isn't a problem to be solved. It's an opportunity to be managed. And now you're ready to learn how to manage it. So I'll see you in module 2.